Hi, good morning, everyone. I pray everyone is having a blessed day. I'm here for part 2 of the evolution of me. I think I left off saying that my grandmother raised me and she passed when I was 11, and another person that I looked up to passed when I was 14, which was my cousin slash sister. I'll start there. My grandmother passed when I was 11, and she was the person who molded me, if that makes sense. She was my safe place. I don't know who I would be today if it would not been for her. She was the person that that gave me substance, because she, in a way, her way, taught me a lot. She introduced me to God. She also introduced me to knowing that you can change. There's a right from wrong, and it's important to ground yourself in God at all times. When she passed, it was January 15th, 1990 at 6 a.m. is when they told us that she was gone. It was me and my aunt in there, because I lived with my grandmother. I took care of my grandmother. I was her sole caregiver. I cooked her meals. I helped assist her with her bathing. I washed our clothes. I walked whenever we needed anything, because my grandmother didn't drive. It was me. And I think like my aunts, I really don't know my uncle, so I'm just gonna say my aunts. I don't even understand that. And my mom, I don't even think they ever understood the magnitude of what a little girl had to carry. I had to see my grandmother go in and out of the hospital because she was in renal failure, and she had heart disease. It was a lot of health issues, but I had to take care of my grandmother. And I don't think they understood what that put on a little girl who, first of all, her mom was an alcoholic. Second of all, she didn't really know her father, her biological father, because they told me that. I had a father, and I'm going to get to that. I had a father who I carried his name and who was there. I saw him almost every weekend, took and did things with me. Anyway, that's trauma on top of trauma. But staying on track, my grandmother. Towards the end, her health was declining, but she fought as long as she could, because she knew she was all I had at the time. She knew that. The Christmas of 1989, she signed herself out of the hospital against doctor's orders, because she was in her last stages of life. To make sure I had a Christmas. To make sure that her granddaughter had a Christmas. And she died a few weeks later, January the 15th. But I was important enough to somebody that, despite how she felt, and despite what was going on in her body, she decided that it was more important that this little girl had a Christmas. I don't know if she knew it was her last Christmas with me, or she just knew that if I don't do it, nobody else is. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. She left January 15th. But her last words to me was, she looked back, because I was in the back of my aunt's car, and she said, "You cold, Tasha?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am," because it was January. And she wanted the window down. And so that was an indicator something bad was happening, because my grandma was always freezing. And I said, I didn't have a coat or anything on. I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "You're going to be okay." And after that, she leaned her head over and she started snoring with her eyes open. Now I know that I was actively dying. But anyway, she left. And my whole world was upside down. I didn't have a safe place. I did no longer have anyone that I can depend on, that I can trust with my safety, my well-being, my mental health, anything. I didn't have that anymore. But I had one person, and her name was my Charlene, my cousin, my big cousin. But she had kids of her own. She had 3 little mouths to feed. She had, like, I was just her cousin. But she looked after me, and I'm not going to diminish that. She looked after me. She did what she could. Like I said, I was 11. I tried to live with my aunt in my grandmother's home. That didn't work. That did not work. So I ended up, had to go back to my mom. She had to try to find a place. We ended up living in a camper for a little while until my mom's friend, which was, let me backtrack a little. My mom was in a relationship with a man that was not a safe place for me. That no, he, you know, did what some men do, which was unhealthy things with little girls. So that was not a safe environment for me. So I could not go there. So anyway, fast forward to my grandmother being deceased. My mom went and married this man. A few months after my grandmother passed, she married him. But I don't know what happened. By the time when I was put into her care, she was not living with him. I don't know what happened with that, but that's none of my business, no here or there. They were off and on until the day he died. But she, we lived in a camper, and then I went to live with a military woman to be her babysitter. But then when she wanted custody of me and my mom had to lose all of her benefits from the state, she wanted me back. She was still in her addiction, which was alcohol, and she was mentally not available for me ever. And yeah, and then fast forward a few years, I started working at 14-ish. Yeah, I started working and trying to make sure we were good. Any means necessary. I said before my last video, I put myself in an unhealthy situation with my oldest daughter's sperm donor. Went on a date with a grown adult man, and I was 14, and yeah, don't remember any of that because the last thing I remember is a Sprite. And yeah, I later on found out that I was with child. A child having a child, a broken child that never had counseling, that never had stability, that never had anyone that was there to make sure that little girl was okay. That little girl was finna to be a mom. Do you understand the magnitude of the pain and the confusion and the things that were going on inside of me that I didn't even know how to even exist in this world? But now I'm bringing forth life, and from an unhealthy situation that I placed myself in. I do not condone what he did because that was wrong. That was wrong. But that was given me, now that I know this now, I didn't know it then. God was giving me my forever friend, my forever love, the love that I was looking for my whole life. God was giving it to me in that moment, but it didn't feel like it. It did not feel like it. And I'm going to end part 2 by saying that was a tough journey, being pregnant at 14 with no stability, no safety, no adult around me that was mentally capable of seeing about themselves. Don't forget about the little girl that's that didn't have anybody to depend on. She had to depend on herself. I'll be back with part 3.